Hi everyone. So in this video what we're going to talk about is creating a layered score within Fmod. The first thing that you're going to want to do is go to fmod.com and download the uh, Fmod Studio tool. Now you may need to register and log in to actually download it. It's free and you'll want to download the Mac version right here. So Fmod Studio tool, download. Once you've done that, then you can and installed it. You'll put it in your applications folder, and I'll go ahead and open it. Once you open Fmod Studio, the first thing that may ask you is whether you actually want to open it, and you'll say yes, and then you'll create a brand new project, and let's put it on our desktop. So when you hit save, go ahead and go to your desktop. The quick key is Command D, and let's name it first name Michael Sweet Layered. So use whatever name you have and go ahead and save that to your desktop. When you do that, it does create a project folder and it keeps all the assets within inside that project folder. So I'm going to go ahead and import some assets. Now this is a layer track and you can compose layers if you'd like to, but you don't have to for it. And I'll talk a little bit about how you might choose things off of YouTube or another source just to kind of get up and running in terms of creating a layered score. All right, so let's do that. I've already created some layers here. The first thing that we want to do in Fmod is to create a new event, and you do that by right-clicking in the events area and then going to new 2D event. A 3D event would be spatialized in the world, so if we were in a 3D world, when we turned left or right, the sound may pan based on where that object is located in the world. A 2D event, it would be for a stereo underscore or something like that. So we'll call this level 1 music, like that. And then we'll save it, which is Command S. And so we have one event there, and we have one audio track. We're going to create two more audio tracks for our other two tracks because this is a 3-layered score. So right-click on audio 1 and create two new audio tracks like that. So we have 3 audio tracks all together. And then we can start importing our layers. I've already selected some layers and pulled some things off of the internet. So I'm going to bring in my 3 files this way. And let me give you some advice about how to pick these files. When I went to the internet onto YouTube to find some files, basically I'm looking for 2 legato files and 1 rhythmic file. That way they won't conflict. It will be a little harmonically dissonant, but I kind of have a low, like a lower drone and then a higher orchestral thing, and I'm going to add some drums on top of that. The reason why, since we're just pulling pieces, they're not going to have the same tempo maps and harmonic maps. So just to kind of get used to the idea of what a layered score is like, we're just picking 3 things off the internet. Not what I suggest is pick something that has a high range legato, something in a low range legato, and your third one should be like some sort of rhythmic only track, no harmonic content in it at all. And that's what I've done here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loop my tracks so that they play for a long time. So I'll open this up a little bit so I can see my entire project. And each one of these I can loop on its own. When I select one of these, you'll see that down below it has the properties for that individual segment. And so what I'm going to do is loop each one of these like this, hit the loop button, and then for this one loop, and then this one loop. That means for as long as it's playing, it will loop. We'll also maybe turn on asynchronous too. So let's turn on asynchronous. That. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a sustain point in the timeline. Now the timeline moves from left to right, but we can actually have the event keep playing looping and stop the timeline, we'll right click here and add a sustain point. And so in doing that, what we've done is you'll kind of see when I hit play event, that the timeline will stop, but your pieces will keep going. And so they'll continue on. You can see each one has their own individual timeline now that will loop back around when it gets to the end. Okay, so let's add the layered interactivity so that layers 2 and 3 then get faded in based on some game parameter. So I'm going to create a parameter, and I do that by clicking the plus button next to the timeline. So the plus button here, add a parameter, and we're going to create a brand new parameter. And I'll call this number, actually I'll say fluffy animal count. And it goes from 0 to 100 fluffy animals. And what that will do is actually across the top, it'll give us a new tab that goes from whatever numbers we put in which case goes from 0 to 100. And we can change that using this knob here. And you can see I can change this here. And it's independent of the timeline. The timeline extends infinitely to the right. But the fluffy animal count, or whatever parameter you put in, only goes from 0 to whatever your maximum number is. Now, this could be anything. It could be revolutions per minute if you're doing a racing game. It could be speed. It could be location if you have your numbers based in location. So like location 1 is the farm, and location 2 is the Coliseum. And we can adjust that up here. So now what we want to do is use automation. The way that we can add automation either on the timeline or on fluffy animal count is to right click on any of the parameters. So we're going to add in right here automation for this track. We're also going to add automation for this track. The other thing I'm going to do is I don't need this overview over on the right, so I'm just going to move it like that and get rid of it. And so now I can control automation based on my parameter. So let's say when I have more than 10 fluffy animals, then what I'm going to do is fade in layer 2. So I'll kind of fade it in like this, so that as my fluffy animal count increases, it will fade up. And you can kind of see the level going up there, which is cool. And then when my fluffy animal count gets above 50, maybe, then I fade in layer 3. These are very disturbed fluffy animals based on my music. So I start the fluffy animal count at 0, and we can hear this is my layer 1. And we can actually look at it on the timeline here. And 2 and 3 are also playing, but we don't hear them because the automation is set so that the fluffy animal count actually controls it. So as I increase that and bring in my second track, you hear that. And then later on, my rhythmic stuff will come in when I get to 50. I can go back to my timeline and kind of look at it there. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, how does Fmod integrate with a game engine? And basically, the game engine would import this Fmod, kind of an export of this Fmod as a bank, and then the number of fluffy animal count would be routed into my Fmod project so that it would be controlled by the game itself. Here we're simulating that using this knob here, and as my my number goes up here, you can see that it's changing the volumes of those tracks. And that's what you need to do for this week. The only other thing that I want to do is I'll continue this. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. It shows some other automation things. So let's say there happens to be a health parameter that maybe in many games as your health goes down, you may have a low pass filter where the high end gets rolled off. And so that's what we'll do here. We'll go to the master track and actually insert an effect, and we'll actually use one of the old effects. They have these Fmod deprecated effects. We'll go to low pass simple, and that basically gives us a cutoff. And what we'll want to do is automate that cutoff based on a health parameter. So I'm going to add in another parameter, new parameter, health, which goes from 0 to 100. And on the health, what we'll do is we'll automate the filter cutoff. And it's week 10 tomorrow. And it added in a separate path here so that as my health goes down, so let's say my health is 50 here, at 50 we start to lower my filter cutoff. So when it's up here, when we're defaulted at like 100, and by the way, you can set the default by right-clicking on this and going ahead and setting its initial value 100. So then it starts, my health starts to go down, and then it's going to actually lower the filter cutoff. So let's listen to that. So I start my level. I have lots of enemies. And then my health starts going down. Or I'm going underwater to avoid the fluffy animals. Anyways, and that's how you set it up. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck. Oh, lastly, I guess make sure to save it, right? Save your project. I'm also going to look at my project, and you can see that it's added some folders here, right? It's actually added some assets and metadata for all that. And for the assignment, you'll want to zip it up. So just right-click on it, hit compress, and it will compress it up. And this is what you need to upload for the assignment, this file here. Okay, good luck.